I'm 87 years old, and the mistake I'm about to tell you about, I repeated it for 50 years without ever once noticing I was doing it. 50 years. That's not a rough patch. That's a life. And I nearly lost everything that mattered before I even understood what I'd been doing wrong. The mistake wasn't laziness. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't stupidity. That would almost be easier to explain. No, the mistake was this. I kept choosing the thing in front of me over the thing that actually mattered. Every single time. For 50 years. And I called it responsibility. I called it providing. I called it being a good father, a good husband, a good partner. But what I was really doing was running toward the thing that felt urgent, so I didn't have to sit with the thing that felt true. You're probably doing it right now. That's what I need you to understand before I say anything else. I was a corporate attorney. Mergers and acquisitions. I made partner at 45. Morrison and Clark. You want to know what that felt like? For about 3 weeks, it felt like everything. Then it just became the new floor, and the floor kept rising. More hours, more travel, more clients, more pressure. I was billing 60, 70 hours a week, traveling almost half the year. And every time my wife Linda would say something, every time my daughter Sarah would look at me a certain way, or my son Michael would go quiet when I walked in the door, I told myself, later. When this deal closes, later. When this quarter ends, later. When the kids are older and don't need me around as much, later. Later never comes. I'm 87. I know that now. But at 38, at 42, at 46, I believed in later the way other people believe in God. Completely. Without evidence. Without question. Here's what that cost me. Specifically. Not in feelings. In actual moments that are gone forever. Sarah's high school graduation. I was there physically. I sat in the bleachers. I took a photo. But 3 days before, I'd been in New York closing a deal, and I came back exhausted and distracted, and I sat in those bleachers thinking about the next filing deadline. She walked across that stage, and I was already somewhere else in my head. She was 18 years old, and I was somewhere else. She told me this, not as a teenager. She told me this when she was 42, sitting across from me at a dinner table. She said, "Dad, I always knew when you were really there and when you were just there." 24 years later. That moment in those bleachers didn't disappear just because I showed up physically. It just became a different kind of absence. Michael was 10 years old and he had this science project. Something about volcanoes, I think, the way kids do. He asked me to help him. I told him I would. I said, "Saturday morning, we'll do it." And Thursday night, a client called, and Friday I was on a plane to Chicago. And Saturday morning, Michael sat at the kitchen table with his mom and his pile of papier-mâché, and she helped him build it. He got a B+. I don't know why I remember that grade. I remember it because Linda told me later and she wasn't angry. That was the worst part. She just said it matter-of-factly, like it was simply how things were. Michael got a B+ on his volcano. He did it with me. That's a sentence I've carried for 47 years. Linda, my wife, we met in college. Married when I was 25. For the first 25 years of our marriage, from 25 to about 50, I was functionally present and emotionally somewhere else. She told me once, around year 15, that she felt like she was married to a very reliable appliance. Those were her exact words. A very reliable appliance. I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought she was being dramatic. I was providing, wasn't I? The house was paid. The kids were fed. The future was being built. What more was there? There was everything. There was everything more. I had a heart attack at 52. Massive. During a client meeting in a conference room in downtown Portland, right in the middle of a sentence about acquisition terms. Triple bypass surgery, 6 months of recovery. And lying in that hospital bed, the first real thing I felt, after the fear, after the relief of still breathing, was this: I don't actually know my wife. I have been married to this woman for 27 years, and I have been so busy being next to her that I never actually looked at her. That was the moment, not philosophical, not gradual. It was a light being switched on in a room I'd been sitting in the dark in for 3 decades. I could suddenly see everything, the shape of what I had built, and the shape of what I had ignored. I spent the next 3 months in denial. Even after almost dying, I started planning when I could go back to work. That's how deep it goes, this pattern. That's how automatic it becomes. The choosing of urgent over true is not a decision you make anymore after a certain point. It's just your operating system. You don't even know you're doing it. It took the second 3 months to start understanding what I actually wanted, what I had actually always wanted but had buried under 40 years of motion. I wanted to know my wife. I wanted to sit with her at the kitchen table with no place to be. I wanted to watch Michael make something and actually watch it. I wanted to call Sarah and have nothing to report, nothing to solve, just to hear her voice because I loved her. And here's the miracle, and also the knife in it. I got those things. After 52, I rebuilt it. I reduced my hours at 53. I retired at 67. Linda and I had 28 years of actually being married after I figured out what marriage was. We traveled. We sat on the porch. We argued about things that didn't matter and held each other through things that did. She died 7 years ago at 80, pancreatic cancer, and I was there for every single minute of it. I held her hand at the end. I told her everything I'd ever wanted to say. I told her about the appliance comment. She remembered it. She smiled. But here's what I live with. I wasted 25 years of her. 25 years when we were young and the kids were young and the house was full of noise and life. 25 years of her standing in the kitchen waiting for me to come home and me walking in and already being somewhere else. I can't get those years back. She can't get them back. They're just gone. And she was gracious enough and loving enough to stay, to wait, to rebuild with me. But I still owe her those years and I will die owing them. Here is what I know now. Actually know the way you only know something after living on the other side of it for 35 years. The urgent thing is almost never the important thing. I spent 50 years responding to urgent things. Deadlines, clients, deals, meetings. None of them, not one, is something I think about now. The important things are the things that didn't make noise. The 10-year-old with the volcano, the wife who wanted to be seen, the daughter in the bleachers. Important things don't have deadlines, they just have windows. And windows close. Presence is a skill you have to practice or you lose it. I lost it for decades. Even when I was physically in a room, my attention was somewhere else. After my heart attack, I had to learn, like a child learning to walk, how to be where I was, how to let a conversation be the only thing happening. It felt unbearable at first. The discomfort is the withdrawal. The discomfort is how addicted you are to motion. The life you're building is not the life you're living. I built a career, a reputation, a financial future. I was very good at building. But while I was building the future, I was not living the present. And the present was the only place my children were children. The only place Linda was young. You cannot build your way back to a moment you missed while you were building. Let me do the math for you. I am 87 years old. I have been alive for 31,105 days, roughly. I was on autopilot, choosing urgent over true, being present in body and absent in everything that matters, for approximately the first 250 of them. That's 50 years. 50 years of days, that's more days than many people get in an entire life, and I spent them optimizing for the wrong thing. What would I do differently? I would have left work at the office at 35, not 53, not physically. I would have left it mentally. I would have had a rule. When I walk through the front door, the work is over. Full stop. I would have taken Michael to his science fair and built that volcano badly and been proud of the B+. I would have sat with Linda, just sat with her. No agenda, no news to report, at least twice a week. I would have called my mother more in her final years. She died at 68. I was 42. I was too busy. She's been gone 45 years, and I still owe her phone calls. Here's what you can do this week, not eventually. This week, go home tonight and put your phone in a drawer for 2 hours. Just 2 hours. Sit with whoever's in that house with you. Don't fix anything. Don't solve anything. Just be there and let them feel you being there. That's a skill. Start practicing it now. Call the person you've been meaning to call. Not text. Call. And when they answer, don't have a reason. Just say you were thinking about them. Watch what that does. Write down on paper the 3 things you would regret most if you got the call tomorrow. The diagnosis, the accident, the moment everything changes. Write those 3 things down, and then ask yourself, what am I doing this week that is getting in the way of those 3 things? Because I promise you, something is. Something always was. Now let me ask you directly, are you doing what I did? Are you walking through the door already somewhere else? Are you at the dinner table but not at the dinner table? Are you telling yourself later? Are you saving the real presence, the real attention, the real version of yourself for when things slow down? When does it slow down? I'm 87 and it still hasn't slowed down. The only thing that changes is what you're running toward. How much time do you think you have? I'm not asking to scare you. I'm asking because I asked myself that question at 51, and I genuinely believe the answer was plenty. I was wrong, not because I died. I'm still here, stubbornly, at 87, but because the time I thought I had to be present with the people I loved was already mostly spent. The window for being Michael's father while Michael was a boy was already closed. The window for knowing Linda in our 30s was already gone. Plenty of time turned out to mean the time you needed has already passed. My grandson, Josh, is 23. He's in law school. He reminds me of myself in ways that keep me up at night. Brilliant, driven, absolutely certain that the success he's building will eventually make space for the life he wants. I look at him, and I see myself in 1961, and I want to grab his shoulders and say, the life you want is already here. It is happening right now, while you're not paying attention to it. The relationship you keep telling yourself you'll invest in when things calm down, that person is aging right now. That window is moving. I'm 87 years old. I spent 50 years repeating a mistake I couldn't even see. Then I spent 35 years trying to make up for it, and I got lucky. Luckier than most. Because the people I had neglected were still there, still willing, still loving enough to let me back in. Not everyone gets that. Some people wake up and the house is empty. Some people wake up and she's already gone. Some people wake up and the kids have stopped calling. I have my daughter's voice in my ear every single day. I have my son in my driveway 3 times a week. I got to hold my great-grandchildren. I got 28 years with Linda after I finally understood what marriage was. I am wealthy in the only currency that matters at the end. But I will tell you the truth. I'm still spending it. Every morning I talk to her photograph. Every morning I say the things I didn't say for 25 years. It's not enough. It was never going to be enough. And that is the thing about this mistake. You only understand the full cost of it when you can no longer pay the debt. Don't wait. Not another week. Not until the deal closes. Not until things settle. Not until later. You are living your life right now. This is it. The people around you or the life, be there.